Hello fellow brawlers, I'm KairosTime and it's time to brawl. Now Supercell very recently released this sneak peek video for the next update and let us know that Brawl Talk would be coming out tomorrow. Now Supercell actually gave me this sneak peek a little bit early so that I've had a little bit more time to think about what all of this means. Now there's a lot of words like like Hyper Bear or Mama's Squeeze that have very direct references to one of the brawlers in the game, and even beyond that, the naming seems almost identical to how Brawl Stars names the various abilities that the brawlers currently have in the game. Now it's because of this that I think that Brawl Stars is adding additional star powers for each of the brawlers, or that they're adding an additional ability for each of the brawlers. Now after thinking about it a lot, I think that rather than like them adding it so that like this will be a stackable star power or an additional ability on top of the current star powers that brawlers have, it's more likely that they're going to be able to make it so that you like have to choose between the two. We don't know that for sure yet. That's nothing confirmed. That's just speculation so far. Either way, I am incredibly excited. Now there's a reason why I'm excited beyond just this, and that's because there's something very interesting about this sneak peek. Out of all of the phrases that are on here, I counted them, there are 27 phrases. This is a big deal for two reasons. First off, we currently have 26 brawlers in the game, so that means that there's likely a hint somewhere in this list as to what the next brawler is going to be. And second, I have a really good idea of which one it is, so we'll talk about that. But before we get into that, let's actually go through each one of these like star powers or special abilities and talk about what I think they will be and which brawlers they will likely be associated with. Okay, starting off, we have Hyper Bear. Now this is clearly meant for Nita. My guess is that this is going to be an ability that will increase either the attack speed of the bear or the movement speed of the bear. My hope is that it's a buff to the movement speed of the bear because it's currently the slowest in the game, and I think that would be a really fun addition. Next up is MAGNUM Special. I am fairly certain that this is actually referring to the Magnum pistol, which, according to a quick Google search, is a gun designed to fire cartridges that are more powerful than its caliber would suggest. But because of this, I'm actually thinking the star power would actually mean an increased damage, or possibly even increased super damage to Colt when he has this super ability, because he is, once again, the revolver pistol brawler. Next, we have Thorny Gloves, which is obviously meant for Rosa. I mean, it's straight in her artwork. My guess is that this is going to be pretty simple, basically an increase in the amount of damage that she does with her regular attacks. Then, of course, next we have Demolition, which it's not too hard to guess that this is for Dynamite, the only demolitions expert in the game. My guess is that this star power will increase the blast radius of his super so that it will be more likely to actually hit an enemy target. Then we have Extra Noxious. Now, there are two possible brawlers that this could be for, because Noxious refers to either something poisonous or like something uncomfortable. I don't think it's actually going to be Crows because of the next star power that we'll talk about. I'm fairly certain that it's actually Spike. Now, Noxious is a word that's usually referred to like noxious weeds, which means I think that it's a good fit for Spike. My guess is that when Spike has this ability that when he deals damage to an enemy with his super, it will also deal some poison damage to them as well. Maybe even like slow them down for a longer period of time, or even slow them down even more. I don't know. After that, we have Carrion Crow. Now, I had to do a quick Google search to find out that there's actually like a type of bird or crow called a carrion crow, but carrion is referred to the decaying flesh of a dead animal. Now this is obviously meant for Crow because it has his name in the name of it. I believe that this will be an ability that will further increase the damage that his poison does to enemy brawlers, allowing him to help finish them off a little bit better. Then we have Rocket number 4. This is clearly meant for Brock. My guess is that this is going to be some type of like star power that will permanently give Brock a 4th ammo slot, so he can finally unlock that 4th rocket that's been in his rocket launcher for the past 2 years of Brawl Stars. Yeah, it's time to let it fly, Brock. Then we have Mama's Squeeze. Very similar to Mama's Hug or Mama's Kiss. This is clearly an ability of Pam's, right? This sounds like an offensive ability rather than like a supportive ability like her current star power, and my guess is that this will make it so that enemy players that are actually standing within range of her turret will take a little bit of damage every second that they stand there, you know, as they get that squeeze from Mama. After that, we have Screeching Solo, and this definitely sounds like an ability for Poco. This reference to like a solo makes me think that it's more associated with like his super than his attack, because like a solo is like a big deal and an attack is not. My guess is that it's going to actually decrease the movement speed to enemy players that happen to get hit by his super whenever he lets it out. So that could be really interesting. I would love something like that. Rolling Reload is next, and the only brawler that rolls in the game is Daryl. It sounds kind of obvious, but it sounds like Daryl will actually like reload his shots after rolling which would obviously give him a really excellent assassinate ability, which, you know, he'd be able to like pump out so much damage, which would be really cool. After that, we have INVISIHEAL, obviously like pretty obvious, thinking of Leon and him actually healing while he's invisible, which would be cool. After that, we have Meteor Rush. Some of the old lore in Brawl Stars actually mentioned something about El Primo being associated with meteors. I don't remember exactly what it was, but El Primo is the meteor brawler. This is why I think that has something to do with his super. My guess is it will actually increase the speed of his super charge, so we'll be able to use it more frequently, or that it will actually make it so that he will jump and then land faster when he uses his super before, so it'll be harder to escape it. After that, we have Snappy Sniping. Obviously, this is meant for Piper, the sniper. I could see this meaning one of two things. Either it will increase the speed of her shots, or it will actually speed up her reload speed, so she'll be able to like use her shots more frequently. Either way, this seems like a really good idea for Piper, and I'm excited to see what it actually is. Next, we have Snare a Bear. Now, this one confused me at first because of the mention of a bear, but the reference to Snare reminded me of Bo's super being a trap. And my guess is that this will actually make it so that brawlers caught in the explosion of his traps, his super, will also be slowed or even possibly be snared or like stunned so they can't move for a little bit. That could be really interesting. Then next we have Shocky. I believe this is referencing Jesse's shock rifle attack. I've had a few ideas of what this means. I first actually thought that like it would increase the possible number of bounces from her attack, but since there are only 3 enemy players on a team, that wouldn't actually really make a ton of sense. So my thought additionally after that is that like either it would deal more damage every time it bounces, so like the third bounce would deal even more damage, or maybe even making it so that if it bounces off of one target and then it hits an enemy target, then it could actually hit that first target a second time, shocking them even more. After that, we have Batting Stance, and this mention of a bat definitely means this ability belongs to BB. My guess is that this batting stance will actually make it so that when BB hits a brawler with her home run attack, they'll actually get stunned just a bit after they actually get knocked back. Okay, so now that we've talked about like some of the more obvious ones, let's actually talk about the ones that are a bit less obvious and see if we can piece them together. For starters, there are 3 robot brawlers and 2 star powers that really could refer to them. Okay, there's Robo Retreat and Well Oiled. I don't believe that either of these belong to Rico because there are 2 other abilities that actually like refer to balls, which are more likely associated with him. This is a guess, but I believe that Well Oiled will actually belong to Carl and will boost his regular movement speed because, like, you know, a well-oiled machine tends to move faster. It could also mean like go for Barley or something like that, but like he's a machine, he's got a car, so that would make sense. That would mean that the other idea, Robo Retreat, would actually go to Barley. Honestly, I had a difficult time thinking of what this would be, but after a lot of thinking, I think that the brawlers that actually like stand within his super, his teammates will actually heal a small amount every second that they stand within that super. Okay, next we have 2 references to the balls. We have Curveball and Balls of Fire. Now this one took me a while to figure out, but I'm pretty sure that Curveball is referring to Rico, and that Balls of Fire is actually referring to Penny. My guess is that Curveball will make it so that Rico shots, if they get somewhat close to an enemy brawler, they'll actually curve just a little bit toward the enemy, making it easier for him to hit his shots on them. As for Balls of Fire, I believe that this means that taking damage from her turret will actually result in a little bit of burn damage, you know, because you have those cannonballs raining down, causing fire, and you burn, and I don't know. Balls of Fire. Reminds me of an old song I used to hear. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Next up, we have Healing Shade. I think that this one belongs to Tara because of her shadow. My guess is that this means that after her super blows up, a shadow creature will appear, but rather than being an offensive one that will actually chase enemies down, it will actually run towards the closest damaged teammate and heal them. After that, we have Band-Aid. I believe this is referencing the bandage that is on Shelly's face. This sounds like some sort of like defensive or supportive ability. If I were to guess, it would be a passive heal that Shelly has, so like she's consistently healing a very small amount if she dips below a certain amount of HP. I don't know. Band-Aid, it could be interesting. I'm not sure what that one means, but we'll see soon enough. After that is Coiled Snake. This one was a tricky one to figure out, but if you actually look at Frank's caveman skin, you'll see him wearing a snake around his neck, kind of like a tie. I think that this is some sort of like offensive ability for Frank. My guess is that he'll actually do additional damage when his super is charged, but with his regular attack. You know, similar to how you would want to keep your distance from a coiled snake, you want to keep your distance from a Frank for 2 reasons. First, because of a super, and second, because of the additional damage from his attack or something. I don't know. It's a little bit of a long shot, but you get the idea. After that, we have pat on the back. And I'll admit, this one's a little bit of a stretch, but I don't think that it is too far off. I think that this is meant for Gene. When I think of a pat on the back, I think of a gentle hand on your back. Well, Gene when he uses his super, he shoots out a giant fist to pull enemies toward him. So, yeah, I don't know. I believe this ability is referencing to his super hand. I could see it either being like an offensive or a defensive ability. It could mean additional damage when his super actually hits an enemy target, or it could also mean that his super would actually heal teammates if the hand happened to pass through them on its way to or from an enemy player. After that, we have Tough Guy, which I think is reserved for Bull. Honestly, I have no reason to put Bull with that other than the fact that like there's only 2 brawlers left, and Tough Guy is a phrase that, you know, I feel like kind of defines Bull. This sounds like a defensive ability of some sort. If I were to guess, it would be a small decrease in the amount of damage that he takes from enemies because he's a tough guy, or maybe it means that he's more tough and he'll go on the offense and deal more damage, or like if he runs people over with his super, then he'll deal additional damage as he punches them while he bulldozes through them or something. I don't know. Okay, lastly, guys, we have Mortis, and there are 2 star powers that we have to choose from for him. The first being Protective Pirouette. Now, a pirouette is a dance move in ballet, and despite the Night Witch Mortis skin, he really isn't very ladylike. And so that means that I think that Mortis's special ability is going to be Sponge. Yeah. Okay, honestly, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because Mortis doesn't really seem very spongy. But that's kind of what we're left with, and my guess is that it's going to be some type of an ability to make it so that Mortis will have an increased base health, or that his damage will be mitigated at times, kind of similar to Bull's tough guy idea. I don't know. This is one I don't know. But we finally talked about every single brawler aside from the one that I think that Supercell has hinted toward what the next brawler is going to be. I'm talking about Protective Pirouette. This star power just screams new brawler. There are not any references to ballet anywhere in the game, at least that I could find, so I am convinced that the newest brawler coming to Brawl Stars is some sort of a ballerina dancer. My guess is that it's Piper's little sister, Bella, and she's entering the battle arena and is ready to kick people in the face with her ballerina shoes. Also called point shoes. I don't know. I'm thinking of a brawler that has like a middle range of HP that, you know, attacks with her legs in a relatively short range, kind of similar to how like BB attacks. I don't know. I know it's not super original, but that's my best guess here. My guess is that she would have less HP than BB, but she would actually deal more damage than BB's bat does. And for a super, I'm guessing that it would be called Leap, where she like leaps into the air and it would allow her to bounce around the map, dealing damage to anybody that she lands on. Now for her star power, Protective Pirouette, she would decrease the damage that friendly players would take if they're actually close to her. Now I know that that's kind of just a theory, but based off of the sneak peeks that they gave us, I think it's a pretty good theory. Now, I'm definitely going to be jumping into the developer build, looking at all of this in depth, giving you guys any more information that I can as soon as Supercell lets me. So make sure you guys subscribe for future videos, and make sure you turn on that notification bell so that you do not miss it. I'm really curious what you think about this sneak peek that Supercell gave us, so please drop a comment in the section below. For now, this is KairosTime ticking by, and we will see you in Brawl Stars.